everybody, to After the Final Pop, where, as always, we have to thank you for your support over here on Patreon.
Yes, thank you so much for your continued support. You guys are like the reason we keep doing this show, are able to keep doing the show. It's so magnificent of you to continue to support us over here and vote for the one true host, whoever that may be, but especially if it's Jazzy J. Just saying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just going for it.
I got to go for something here.
You do.
I got to make an effort.
To be fair, you got to do your lobbying.
Yeah, gotta
I
gotta try.
understand. But on Team Buzzy B, there are breadsticks. So, we have a secret club. And we have after the final pop, after the final pop.
Ben secret, second secret after the show.
My yes. where like me and everybody else are just like, hey guys, how'd Jay today? Am I right?
Oh man.
No, I'm just kidding. I would never do that. I would never do that. Sure. Anyway, so today, obviously it's a different day because we're wearing different clothes.
Yes.
I feel extremely bright today.
You look bright.
I am.
I can't decide if I keep staring at your shirt and I can't tell if it's like some weird optical illusion where the middle of the flowers are pink and orange, or if I stare at one, it looks orange, but then if I look at the other, and do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
I think they are two different colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're on it. You're on it. Okay. So today, what were we just talking about over lunch? Because there was a discussion that I thought would be interesting. Is the conversation that teachers always told you when you were a kid and you were like learning math or something, and they're like, now when you're an adult, you're not going to be able to have a calculator in your pocket. And obviously they were dead wrong. Of course, I mean, not that it's their fault. I mean, how could they have known? But the interesting thing about it is that I think that I carry that kind of like the opposite of the advice they gave is sort of just like my ongoing philosophy for how I approach details and information in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am totally and completely fine throwing like guesstimated numbers out there as long as it doesn't actually matter. Like it's occurred to me before that I've told stories on the pop where I've probably referred to myself as 8 in the story or 9 in the story, and I don't really care if I'm accurate,
right? Because
it's like what I mean is that I was in like a middle elementary school kid,
right?
I was old enough to be able to like read and write. I wasn't so young that like that was not an option. I wasn't a middle schooler.
It reminds me of a saying our dear old dad used to say, or probably still does, which was hear what I mean.
Hear what I mean.
Hear what I mean. It's like don't sit there and try and smart aleck correct me on semantics here. Like you know what I meant.
It's so funny though, because I think all three of us were kind of bad about like the term, and I'm curious if this is the case for like other households, but the term smart aleck was something that came up in our household all the time.
I feel like I don't hear it that much anymore. I wonder if that was like a trendy word or phrase when we were growing up. Like I wonder if you look at the Google chart for smart aleck, where it was it like really popular during like the early 2000s or something?
That's very interesting. Like, yeah, because it could just be like sass or something now.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Just like a different version of like
swapped it out.
Talking back to your parents.
Yeah, like with like technical correctness or whatever. Okay, now it's interesting that you bring up this particular point that like you don't really mind like inaccuracy in conversation, because you've also talked before about like ruminating on specific other moments in conversation.
Yes.
So like it seems like whilst you have no problem being informationally inaccurate, if you are like socially inaccurate, that will like stick with you though or something.
Absolutely.
Maybe that's not the word, like a social faux pas or something.
Right. And I think what I mean is that like I don't mean inaccurate to the tune of incorrect. Mm-hmm. What I mean is that like for the purposes of me telling you a story about my elementary school life, the difference between 8 and 9 is marginal enough to where all I'm really trying to do is like we're in the ballpark. It's not like this story happened when I was like 14 and I said 8, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, it was acceptable if you were 8. It's not acceptable if you were 14.
Right.
Like, so I think that if you change the actual meaning by being wrong, then I'm not okay with that.
Sure. It's not like, oh yeah, when you're scuba diving, I think you set the pressure valve to like 5 or 6 or something. You'll figure it out.
Right.
Yeah, it's like,
Yes.
You know what? I looked it up. It's only supposed to be 3.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Hope that doesn't come up.
Right. Well, and I think about it a lot, like with the way that we do, like even like Harry Potter theories here on the channel and stuff, where me and you will face off in trivia, and it's so common that like I'll just not know the answer to a question of like a character that someone who has read the books as many times as me should maybe just know by now. It's like, come on, man. It's like you've read the books like 50 times a piece. Like you can't remember Dillis Derwent, you
Right.
know, or whatever the case may be. But, you know, then on the flip end of that, it's like when we're researching videos and topics and stuff like that, I have the ability to fact check myself.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, what was the name of that previous headmaster who has a portrait at St. Mungo's? It's like I don't have to rely on my memory. I know I can go to the source material and look.
Right.
And that's what I mean. So like in a video, you know, like I know that I can take the steps to be right. I can be prepared and I can be accurate. But otherwise, yeah, it's one of those things where like, I feel like sometimes it's I will try to give like examples, and it's like, because I don't know, I'm just like, well, I'm going to give you the best ballpark that I know.
Right.
And I think one of the things that I've maybe even started doing is like clarifying that exact thing. Where it's like I'm not 100% sure if this is right. I'm picking a number. So let's fact check that, and we'll come back to it.
Right.
So maybe my disclaimers have gotten much more open than previously, where I wanted to be perceived as having the knowledge,
Right.
like the answer to this question, like
yeah.
that sense of certainty. But I think, yeah, like what you're saying with like the ruminating, where I will, like after a party or something, I will like start replaying the conversations in my head. I think so much of those conversations have to do like a lot more with like tone of voice, or like realizing that I had asked a question that like absolutely I should have like just known the answer to, because like if I had helped somebody move and just literally forgot, and then like they were like, oh, the new house, I'm like, oh, you moved. It's like, yeah, you moved my couch with me, like, you know, like,
Yeah.
it's like, man,
right.
you were
You're
totally right. Yeah. This actually happens with Ethan, the editor for this podcast, because he's been like a lifelong friend of our younger brother, Tyler.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have told him stories about Holden Beach before, which is like the beach we went to growing up in North Carolina. And he's like, yeah, Ben, I've been to Holden Beach. We've been to Provisions together. Like I was there. And it's like, it's not even like I have forgotten the fact that he's coming with us. It's just like the context in my brain doesn't immediately insert him in there, because his coming with us started happening much later
Yeah.
in the process of going. So I went like, 23 years of my life in a row with no Ethan, then 24, 25, he was there.
It exists for like 1 week a year over the course of like 20 years at this point, with some years on and off. And like what year every specific thing happened is very like interchangeable to
Yeah.
me. It's just like, yeah, this happened at the beach. I don't really remember what year it was. And I know a bunch of different people have come with us over the years. But were you there for that one? Who's to say?
Exactly.
What I
Yeah,
remember from going to the beach with Ethan is that me and him were playing against you and Tyler in cornhole, and it was like the first day, and it was like a game that went back and forth, and we kept tying and having to extend the lead, and people kept resetting their points back, and like finally, me and Ethan scored like a winning point, and we went to do like a running hug or a running high five or something, and our knees slammed into each other.
Oh, no.
Just like joint on bone on bone, and it was like my knee was bruised for like the rest of the week, and it was like, oh my god, I was so mad. I was like, oh man. Like, not by no fault of Ethan or anything. I was just like mad that it happened.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
Like, I'm on vacation. This is day one. My wife broke her ankle on day one at the beach once. That's worse.
I remember that
Sorry,
one
honey.
very, very, very clearly. Yeah, that one stands out to me. Well defined in my brain.
Yeah.
was that particular occasion. But yeah, so I don't know. I think that the differences are so you're asking me though, like or maybe let me ask you to elaborate on your question about my need for accuracy. So because you're saying like that I've talked before about like reviewing things, and are you asking if I would be like reviewing something and be like, you know what, I said it was a foot long, it was 13 inches, I should call and correct that.
I'm just like wondering what do you think the difference is in your brain that causes you to like to ruminate on like a potential tone of voice thing, or like did someone misinterpret that correctly, versus like I just took a stab in the dark and was like inaccurate. Like what makes one of those more forgivable in your brain and one of them like less forgivable?
Okay, so here is one of those things where I think I project onto the world a lot. Is I am very much like I've talked a lot about being like a people pleaser on here, and very infrequently, if like you were to say something to my face that like directly offended me, you wouldn't know it, but the impact would have still happened.
Right.
If that makes sense, where it's like I could like laugh it off. Like I think even in today's episode, I talked about how over the weekend I was tubing with someone who told me I had a dad bod, and it was like one of those things where I was like, oh, haha, that's so like, yeah, good one, you know. But then it was sort of like one of those things like I like left being like, man, I can't believe she said that. Like that was, you know, like it hit me, you know, like it had more impact than I'm sure she meant for it to, but also probably doesn't realize because I didn't respond actively negatively to her.
Sure.
About it. So I think that I project that onto a lot more people as if they are not going to let me know if I've messed up because I wouldn't let you know if you messed up.
I see.
Like I'm not going to be upfront about that because in my mind I would fear being like rude or abrupt or
right. This is like a classic, you're the center of your own universe. Like this is how I experience things, so it must be how everyone else experiences things, and this is how I would act, and if this is how I would act, that's how they're acting, and oh my God.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like a very quick thought spiral. And so I think frequently what it is like, man, they were way too nice to let me know that I super stepped in it there. Like I said something and like, oh,
yeah,
I could see where that wasn't good, you know, and then like sometimes I will follow up with stuff like that where I'll be like, hey, we were talking a few nights ago and I know I mentioned this, like, are we good?
Yeah.
You know, like, cause I think that maybe the other thing about me too is that I'm rather, I think while I'm not going to let you know if I am upset, I'm not super guarded about very many like personal things. Like I think I'll be pretty wide open with people right out the go.
Okay.
Like sometimes I almost feel like what's happening is I'm almost like oversharing like details that maybe are like a bit more personal to someone, and they're like, "Ooh, okay, we're there."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that I've always like we've joked before that you have like a quality or something that like people will just like start talking to you, and I feel like that could be part of it. Like you are so quick to just like share like maybe like a one step over the line kind of personal detail or something.
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, that could be fine, but maybe like maybe the general populace hears that line and they're like, man, this guy's okay with sharing. I can share with them.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like you've been vulnerable already.
Right.
Like you've set the bar for vulnerability, which then means like, oh, okay, like this discourse is open to more than simple small talk. This could be like engaged discussion.
Yeah. What seems like it happens though is like if you're imagining this as like a line or something, like you walk into the conversation and you're like, oh yeah, let me just crack this door just to like open the conversation, and then the other person will be like, they cracked the door, let me throw it open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're like, I'm coming across. And you're like, oh, all right, well, I did open the door, I guess.
It's, yeah. It's like this man, yeah. And it's really funny too because I think for the longest time I have had like customers or acquaintances or even just friends that like I've been like, oh man, like, you know, if I run into them, like they're like big time talker, you know, like,
yeah.
Like I know like if we like, you know, run into each other and we're gonna start and get like be in a conversation, like it's going to take a minute.
Yeah.
You know, so like if we're in a hurry, if we're in a rush, I should probably just be like, hey, how are you? You know, like don't engage.
Yeah.
I think as time goes on, it's like, I'm the problem. It's like maybe I am the talker, and people
you
are
can't
like,
spot the crazy person on the bus. It's you.
yeah. So that's definitely one of those things where I've maybe picked up on the fact that it's like, oh, okay, maybe what's happening is they don't want to talk. Like they're like, oh crap.
Yeah. Maybe everyone thinks you're the talker.
I know. Yeah, it's like every time
I talk to Ben,
just can't get away from it. So sometimes I used to have this one customer in particular back in the aquarium store who was the chattiest Kathy I've ever known, and so when I had met mutual acquaintances, it was actually a question I asked. I was like, "Is he really talkative? Like, if you talk, are you still there right now?" Like,
yeah.
And people did confirm that particular case for me. They were like, "Oh yeah, I know him. He'll talk your head off." And I'm like, "Okay,
chatter.
Okay, good." It's not always me.
Not always me.
It's just if it's also them and me, then it's double trouble.
Yeah, double trouble.
Yeah.
Man, this thing, this would always be a problem. I remember, not like a problem, but when we were kids, I don't know if you noticed this a ton, but frequently we would, like our dad, the news anchor, would be, at some sort of company event, or like the spokesperson, or like the MC or something.
Yeah.
Like we were frequently at a place on the weekend because of our dad's job, and like, oh yeah, there'll be things the kids can do there, whatever. But then it would come time to leave finally, and you'd be like exiting for like half an hour.
Yes.
because like people would want to say goodbye to dad because they knew him from TV, and they'd like want to, oh, you're leaving, I had one thing I wanted to say to you.
Right.
And like, I mean, our dad is the most polite person ever, and he would just engage every single one of these people with a nice 5-minute conversation.
Yes.
And he'd just be like, oh my God, Dad, we're like, the car's right there. Can we please go? I do not want to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was like one instance with this where it was just like, I think we were being picked up from like a friend of ours. This was like later elementary school, where we would go like after school for, it wasn't daycare. It was just like a friend of ours whose mom watched us from like 3 to 5.
Okay,
So like we would get
yeah.
off of the bus at their house, or they would pick us up or something. And I remember one day we were getting picked up, and this exact thing happened where dad got into like a big long conversation, and I had like gone out, like just sat in the car and was like, okay, we're leaving.
Yeah.
And like I remember sitting there and it was like, I was starting to sweat. Do you think they're coming soon? And it was, I mean, I wasn't trapped in the car, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Like I was of age to be able to take off and on my seatbelt, but I do think I sat there. It was like one of these instances where like I didn't even know that it was like acceptable to like complain. Like it was just sort of like it felt like the polite thing to do was to just sit and keep waiting.
Yeah.
And so I remember just sitting there like sweating, and that was like it went on. I eventually got up, but it went on for like maybe like 5 minutes longer than it should have.
Right.
It's like, okay.
I'm getting up.
I need to go say something.
I'm gonna go play. That's like I could almost. I imagine that's a situation where like, as soon as you get up is when they're gonna come out.
Oh, the just noticeable difference.
It's like as soon as I get up, Dad's gonna come out and be like, man, if only.
I know.
The just noticeable difference. I have the just noticeable difference argument with myself every morning right
really?
now, because I will wake up like between like 6:30 and 7 most of the time, and I set my coffee pot normally to go off at 6, and they're like, normally I'll pick up and I was like start scrolling on my phone, but if I wake up and it is like a natural wake up and there's no kids crying, like I will constantly have this like argument in my head, like, just get up now. If you get up right now, if you go downstairs right now, no one's crying. You can have coffee, you can sit on the couch and do exactly what you're doing, but you'll have coffee. Like, you can do it right now. Get up. And it's like, just like give me like 30 more seconds and then I'll get up. And it's like every second you don't get up, a kid could start crying, and then you will not be able to you will not have the free time.
Right.
It's like there's a difference between like free time laying there and free time downstairs, and it's like I know the free time downstairs is better, but it's like just the minorest amount of effort.
Right. Yeah. I can't commit to that.
I don't know about that. It's like the coffee's ready. You prepared for it. You were ready for this. Go downstairs right now, because once they start crying, you will not be able to relax.
Right.
Yeah.
Mine is similar to that, where like if my alarm is set for, like 6:30 and I wake up naturally at 6:27 and I'm like, oh, my alarm hasn't even gone off yet. And then I realize it's only 3 minutes away. Then I'm like, then I will fall back into like REM sleep.
Like immediately.
It's like I woke up naturally. I feel so great. What time is it? Ooh, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Those are the best. All of your rest came for those 3 minutes.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 Or the other one that I have, I'm terrible about a snooze alarm. Terrible.
Oh,
Like
I
that-
don't even think they should exist.
They probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
But the one thing that blows my mind is that like I know that every morning I set my alarm for like, again, yeah, it's like 6, I think it's like 6:22 randomly or something like that. It was just like the alarm that one day I picked, and I've just used it ever since. And I will snooze it, and I know that I have to get up by like 6:57, in order to
Yeah.
get downstairs and like let the dogs out and feed them and let them out again and like make my coffee and everything before I need to go and like leave for the gym, which I have to do by like 7:22.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's so funny because every single morning, like I'll wake up, I'll hear the alarm for the first time, just hit snooze. It'll go off a couple other times. I'm sort of like, like reaching over to the bedside table, like, where is snooze? And every single day, when it's like the latest one, it's like, okay, I got to get up now. It's like, but like, I don't know how it happens because I've mostly been just entirely asleep the entire time.
Right.
But it's like my brain knows, it's like, no. This is the 6:57 alarm.
Oh, it's so weird, like what you're able to like get up and do sort of in your sleep. Like a lot of times, while I'm going to bed, we'll like have some sort of show, like just like watching TV while we're falling asleep or something, and eventually it'll work, and I'll just like fall asleep. But then I will wake up in the morning, and the remote will be on the nightstand next to me, and the TV will be off, and it's like I have no recollection
of turning
the TV off, and it's like I must have. At some
sure.
point I did. I moved the remote, like it happened. I did, like, but I don't know when.
Or you have a ghost.
Yeah, or that. Probably that.
I mean,
way
like,
more likely.
Right.
Yeah.
What's more likely, a ghost or that you forgot to turn it off?
Yeah.
Ghost, obviously.
Ghost,
Ghost every
exactly.
time. Yeah.
Ghost every time.
Yeah, it's always ghosts.
Think about if ghosts are real, there are so many. It's probably mostly ghosts,
Oh, true.
right? Like, think how many people have died. Like,
I know.
so many.
And all of those are now ghosts.
And if ghosts are real, then then it's probably ghosts.
It would be really interesting if that's like what happens and you like realize that everybody comes back as ghosts and there's like an agreed upon understanding, like part of ghost culture is you just don't mess with people.
Right.
But then it's like there's like that small handful and everybody's like,
There's always that small handful.
it's like, really? You're going to go like rattle the spoon?
Yeah.
You're going to rattle the spoon? Like, what do they do to you? You don't even know these people. You're going to
Yeah.
rattle the spoon. You think it's funny?
You think it's funny?
And it's like, it's not funny. The rest of us don't do this.
Giving us all a bad name.
Yeah.
They
And
have cameras. You're gonna be seen.
you're going to be seen.
You're gonna be seen. People are gonna be like, it's special effects.
Yeah. But that's like, oh man, if there's something all of us don't know about and it's so hard to believe in and it's ultimately true, it's going to be like,
I feel like once every 2 years there will be a video of like, there's always some like crummy security camera thing where someone like tries to open, it looks like just some translucent person tries to open a door and it's like, ghost caught on camera, and you're just like, oh, my goodness, that really is very effective. Like that looks so like, it looks so real, but it's like it's never real. It's always edited. It's like,
Why? Yeah.
it's like everyone forgot about the last one just long enough to like believe in this one for like 2 seconds.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is there just never better footage?
Why is
It's
it
like,
never better footage?
who is using security cameras that are not this good? Like,
Yeah,
or that are
like-
not better? Because like like the Ring doorbell cameras are better than this.
Yeah.
And they're inexpensive. And
Yeah. Why is it always like closed circuit cameras that catch the ghosts?
probably because they're the easiest to edit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, this is crummy. It's crummy editing. It's crummy camera. There you go. Look, it's fantastic. There's lots of glitches and static. Because ghosts cause static. That's the other thing. That's the other thing they have going in their favor.
Naturally.
They're
Yeah.
like messing up the electronics a little bit.
Man.
Man.
It'll be
Ghosts.
interesting if we're just like sitting in a room full of ghosts. They're all like,
They're all just like cackling. Wouldn't that be the thing? If ghosts could talk to each other, but you can't hear them and they're invisible, it's like, man, well, that'd be terrible.
that's what I think. I
Yeah.
mean, no, that's not what I think. Hold on, let me be clear.
That's what I know.
This is what what I was suggesting would be the scenario where like you're in the afterlife and you're like and you realize that like this is what it is. Like you just continue to exist around all of these people and none of them can see you, but you
Yeah.
can all see each other and communicate. And it's just like it's like a very odd, I don't know. But like there'd be no way to convince ourselves.
You know way to know.
And then
they have no way to tell you.
As the ghost, yeah, like they could be sitting there like, like right up in your face being like, "We're real."
Yeah, it's happening
We're
right now.
real. And it's like, yeah, it's like we can't hear you. And this must be so irritating.
It must be so irritating.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for your support over here on Patreon. If you managed to stick through this entire After the Final Pop,
I feel like because we took time off between recording the episode and after the final pop, we're like fresh again.
I know.
Just keep talking.
Let's just, I got plenty to say.
You
We're
want to
talk about ghosts for another 40 minutes.
Ghosts.
They're
Real.
Well, who knows? They know they
We'll
are.
never know.
Until we do. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much for your support. Until next week.
Bye.
Bye.